Water, earth, fire, air.
Avatar: The Last Airbender has long been a beloved TV show of mine. I remember watching it as a kid when it aired on Nickelodeon, standing in front of the TV pretending I could bend the elements, just like the characters in the show. It's a show that I grew up with as a kid, as I'm sure a fair amount of people my age can say the same. This show is more than just a cool world you can immerse yourself in and watch for the fight scenes, which is mostly what I watched it for as a kid anyways, but rather an extremely compelling story with some of the best written characters I've seen in a show. This is Earth Kingdom Gaming, and this is the first in a multi-part series dedicated to why I love Avatar: The Last Airbender. So be sure to click subscribe and ring the bell so you can be notified of future Avatar episodes. I find myself coming back to this show often, and I can't say that for any other shows other than Avatar. Every summer I would rewatch each season and remember what it was like to be a kid, traveling along with the gang one more time. I realized that the show was enjoyable as a kid due to the bending and fight scenes, but as I got older I really started to watch the show and see all the excellent storytelling and writing behind the cool bending and fights. There were a lot of intense topics and scenes covered in the show, such as Aang having to find that the Air Nation had been victim to genocide by Fire Lord Sozin and the Fire Nation, all while at 12 years old. Also, the 100-Year War that was caused by the Fire Nation in order to show other cultures their greatness. Not to mention that there are topics such as sexism and ableism covered as well, seen through Katara and Toph Beifong respectively. One of the earliest examples of this can be found in Season 1 when Katara was denied waterbending training with Aang from Master Pakku simply because she was a woman.
Go back to the healing huts with the other women where you belong.
In Season 2, when we meet Toph, we see her being treated like a frail young child just because she's blind.
Yes, and sadly, because of her blindness, I don't think she will ever become a true master.
The show makes you realize that people are more than what society makes them out to be and have potential beyond what their disabilities are. Katara ended up being a waterbending master within the span of the gang's journey, as well as being the world's best healer. As far as Toph goes, she became widely recognized as the greatest earthbender in the world and developed techniques such as seismic sense and metal bending that have previously not been discovered by any other earthbender.
I am the greatest earthbender in the world! Don't you two dunderheads ever forget!
When I first met my fiance, I had her watch Avatar with me since she had never seen it before. When I asked her what she thought of the show, she said that it was good and she liked it a lot, but it wasn't her favorite. She said that my love for the show was most likely rooted in nostalgia, and since she didn't watch it as a kid, she didn't have that same love for it. It started to make me think that, was Avatar just good because of nostalgia?
No, don't like that.
I quickly abandoned this idea because while nostalgia does play a factor in people's love for things, such as places, movies, and games, it does not mitigate how well written the characters are, the lore, and the world building. Avatar to me has had a greater impact in my adult life because I can fully appreciate the story that is told, the hardships that are faced, and the journey to overcome obstacles that life places in your way. Also, I can't forget Uncle Iroh's wisdom throughout the series.
Sharing tea with a fascinating stranger is one of life's true delights.
Iroh's character was not only a mentor for Zuko, but also a mentor for the audience. There is so much I've learned from watching Iroh challenge Zuko, give him advice, and forgive him for when he makes mistakes.
Hello, Zuko here.
Zuko's character alone is one of the most well-written characters I've ever seen in a show, period. From a guy that just wants his honor back and forgiveness from his father, to deciding that his destiny is his own to mold and not forced upon him by his father or anyone else. He represents the struggle between doing what someone is telling you to do, whether that is a superior society or peers, versus acknowledging that you have the power to decide the life that you want to live and can determine your own destiny. Avatar: The Last Airbender has always been a show I could be fully immersed in without worrying about day-to-day concerns. Even though I've watched the show and experienced the story multiple times, I still get excited to watch the journey unfold with the gang and sit on the edge of my seat every time during the epic bending battles. Not to mention the chills I get every time Aang enters the Avatar state, which is honestly the best part of any of the fight scenes. The music in this show is absolutely incredible. The music that plays when Aang enters the Avatar state makes me feel triumphant in knowing that they will persevere through whatever obstacle they are facing. My favorite song from the entire show is The Avatar's Love. I remember it vividly from when the gang used to fly away on Appa in the sunset. Easily one of the best in the series. Although, The ending credit song in The Legend of Korra does give it a run for its money. Avatar The Last Airbender is a show that I will never truly forget or outgrow. Part of that is due to the nostalgia factor previously mentioned, but the main reason is that the characters, the storytelling, and the world building combine itself to truly make it feel like a place you can escape to. Avatar has taught me some of the best lessons and given me some of the best knowledge I've ever received, but the show is also about what it's like to be a kid. The overarching plot of the story is that Aang is the Avatar and must defeat the Fire Lord before Sozin's Comet to end the 100-Year War. Aang is a 12-year-old kid, technically 112 years old if you include the time frozen in the iceberg, but whatever. A 12-year-old kid who has the weight of the world on his shoulders. The entire world is relying on him to save them. Rewatching the show as much as I have, I start to realize some things that I may have previously missed out on beforehand. Aang has such a huge responsibility, being the Avatar, something he thought he could run away from. After Aang ran away and was frozen for 100 years, he realizes that the air nomads were wiped out, and he blames himself for this entirely. Having this burden of being the only surviving airbender, the only remnant of a long-thought extinct culture, as well as being the Avatar and forced in the 100-Year War, is a lot for any one person, let alone a kid. Aang has 1 year to master all 4 elements before Sozin's Comet arrives and the Fire Lord wipes out the rest of the bending cultures. In perspective, most avatars take years, even decades to accomplish this, as we've seen with Avatar Roku. The world is not a pretty place and Aang has a huge weight on his shoulders, but we still see his kid-like nature throughout his journey with his friends. When I see this, I think about how much that relates to our everyday life and standards that society places on us. We are taught that we can't be a kid forever and eventually we are forced to grow up and contribute to society. People tell you to act your age, but in reality, there is nothing wrong with being young at heart and holding on to that kid-like nature while still taking on a lot of responsibility. Also, these characters have had to endure some incredibly difficult decisions and moments throughout the series for being just kids. Aang has to end the Fire Lord's life in order to bring peace and balance back to the world and end the war, but he strongly advocates for not taking one's life as taught by the monks. Katara confronts the man that murdered her mother, but chooses not to go down a path of vengeance and kill him. Toph holds up a sinking library in the desert that has all of her friends inside, while knowing that she cannot save Appa from being abducted without letting all of her friends perish. Sokka does not fully appreciate his value in the group, being a non-bender in a team with the most powerful benders out there, and feels like he doesn't really belong. Lastly, Zuko, who struggles with a dark past of violence in his pursuit of capturing the Avatar to please his father, who banished him from home by advocating for not using Fire Nation soldiers as live bait.
You will learn respect, and suffering will be your teacher.
This is not every difficult decision or moment in the show, but even this handful of examples I couldn't fully grasp when I was a kid watching the show. It took becoming older to fully realize and understand the gravity of some of these decisions and moments, and looking back at them, it was incredibly difficult stuff. Avatar The Last Airbender is known for having amazing writing, like adding in these difficult decisions, but there are also heartwarming moments such as the reunion of Appa and Aang after being separated, and Iroh forgiving Zuko for betraying him back in Ba Sing Se and letting Zuko know that he was never angry with him in the first place. These moments are why I love the show so much. The characters that we've seen from the very beginning that are inexperienced become fully realized benders and characters over time. A lot of thought also went into the lore and world building as well, with concepts such as the airbenders living on the mountaintops that were only accessible by airbending or sky bisons. Other examples would be the waterbenders living in the North and South Pole, where they can better adapt to the environment. And the same applies to the earthbenders living in mountainous terrain and the firebenders living in a volcano. Bending even utilizes different martial art forms to match the style of the element that is being bent, which adds more depth to the world building. Water being the element of change, matching the fluidity of Tai Chi. Airbending being the element of freedom, being represented by Baguo Zhang. Firebending being the element of power expressed by Northern Shaolin Kung Fu. And of course, earthbending being the element of substance, utilizing the rigidity of Hungar Kung Fu. I'm incredibly grateful for the show, being a huge part of my childhood growing up, and still part of my adulthood today. The fandom has only grown larger with the resurgence of Avatar being released on Netflix in the US earlier this year, and I couldn't be happier. Hopefully this will lead to more exciting Avatar projects and content to be produced in the future, aside from the comics and Kyoshi novels. In the next Avatar video, I will be going over the world building and lore in depth. Leave your favorite Avatar quote down in the comments below. Be sure to leave a like, click the subscribe button, and ring the bell so you don't miss out on my next video. Or I'll
Bury you in a rock-a-land.
Just kidding. I'll see you guys in the next video.